Pregnancy is a natural process, so if it's not happening or if it's not sticking, something is missing. After having a family member go through infertility and experiencing a miscarriage myself, I realized how little support and education women have around infertility. I want to change that. I'm Dr. Jane Levesque. I'm a naturopathic doctor and a natural fertility expert. Tune in every Tuesday at 9 a.m. for insightful case studies, expert interviews, and practical tips on how you can optimize fertility naturally. If you've been struggling with infertility, pregnancy loss, women's health issues, or you just want to be proactive and prepare yourself for the next big chapter in your life, this show is for you. Hey, Dane, thanks so much for being here. I'm really excited to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here, Dr. Jane, and everyone out there who's dealing with any gut health issues. I dedicate this time to you. Thank you for being here. Let's get massive results. Let's build integrity. Let's heal the body. It is possible.
The gut is the epicenter of our health. Now, I struggled with IBS, and my community knows that. I talked a lot about, I had pretty severe IBS. Now, you yourself had Crohn's. I'd love to hear your story about how did you become, the IBD guy?
Yeah, I originally thought, my guy who really just helped me with his books, because I never met him, but was Jordan Rubin. I was talking to you about him earlier. But there's a lot of people like Jeannie Patel, been a mentor of mine, Jordan Rubin, mentor, and other people like Elaine Gottschall and David Klein's book. I mean, those were all so useful. But the answer really is I just suffered greatly. And if you're out there suffering right now, it can be a superpower. It can turn into one of the best things that ever happened to you. But for me, it was years and years of suffering. I got my first symptoms of IBD at 19 years old, where I got blood in the stool and multiple bowel movements. And I didn't know what to think about it. I was a college kid, good old boy from Virginia, hanging out, talking to the bros, lifting weights. I was just a guy, I was just a regular guy, and I grew up on fast food, and my parents didn't know any better in the early 2000s and the 90s. It was just food to us, right?
Yeah. You don't really bring it up because there's a lot of shame that's associated around it as well. And then you're kind of like, if it just happens once or twice, you're like, oh, it just happens. Because I'll see couples and my male patients, they won't even tag it on their intake form that they've had blood in those stools before. But when I ask the question, they're like, oh, yeah. And I'm like, okay, so it's almost like this, oh, it's normal and I don't really want to talk about it.
Yeah, and I understand because of what that will do to your trauma and nervous system. I think we innately know that if we go to a doctor and talk about blood, they're going to start talking about colon cancer. You're hoping it's just a hemorrhoid or a fissure, and you don't know what to do with it. Then they want to stick a camera up your butt, and you're going, oh, I don't want to do that. And so you're just like, well, it only happened once.
I'm too young.
Yeah, like, come on. I don't want all that. So they just try to put it aside, and then we're busy with our kids and all that stuff. And so I would have been just like that, but I didn't have a choice, because it became very severe. And so all of a sudden it's getting worse and worse and worse. And by the time I was 23, I was diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. And then a little later, another doctor at another hospital I think that was UCLA, said, nope, you have Crohn's disease, young man. And then I went to another doctor and they said, no, you've got ulcerative colitis with gastritis. I went back to that same doctor who was the biggest doctor. And he said, no, I'm certain you have Crohn's disease. And they kept wanting to do colonoscopies and this, that, and the other. And I just started calling it Crohn's colitis. Okay, I've got inflammation in the bowel. It's IBD, and no one knows what causes it. Food doesn't matter. Everyone said, no, there's nothing you can do with food, and you can't heal it. It doesn't, all you can do is take a steroid, an immunomodulator like 6-MP, methotrexate, or you can take a biologic immunosuppressant like Remicade, Entyvio, Rinvoq, which are TNF-alpha blockers or IL-23 inhibitors, things like that, different cytokine inhibitors. So, and for me, the biggest point I want to make to everyone out there is that I didn't get into this because I was against the grain. I just wanted my life back. I was a kid. Doctor, you're the expert. Give it to me. Give me what you need. Inject me, whatever. Let me get back to my life. And it didn't work. And I got more sick, and I got more sick, and I got more sick. At 26 years old, on my 27th birthday, I was hooked up to machines in a hospital. I was there for 6 weeks. I nearly passed away December 14th. 2014 from complications of Crohn's colitis. I weighed 122 pounds. I'm 6'2". I weigh 185 to 190 right now. And I was on 200 milligrams of infused prednisone. So I've been taking prednisone on and off, 60 milligrams tapered down, or 40 milligrams tapered down, 30, 20, 10, 0, taper off, flare comes back, go back on prednisone, go on Cipro, go on Flagyl. I was taking antibiotics like Skittles, Lealda, Asacol, mesalazine, sulfasalazine, did nothing for me, nothing. And then I went on Remicade, then I went on Entyvio. And then after doing all of that, Now I'm in the hospital fighting for my life. So for me, there's nothing that can really work for me. There's nothing I can do. Doctors are saying we need to do a colectomy. We need to do it now. You have no more time to wait.
Which is basically remove your colon.
Colon, yeah. Partial or total. I was having 25 bloody bowel movements a day. It was just water and blood coming out in a pan that my mom was holding under my butt at that time. So at that moment, that worst peak moment, I was, my mom flew in, my dad flew in, my sisters flew in. They took time, staying with me through the night. And it was in December that the doctor's going, look, we don't know if he's going to live. Now that I wasn't aware of this. I was completely out. At this point, they had me on 3 grams of Dilaudid. If you don't know what that is, it is legal heroin. It is 7 times stronger than morphine. 3 grams is the maximum dose they can give you to even a dying cancer patient. Okay. So I hit a button and it was, I'm gone. Okay. I was in a different world.
See you later, Dane.
See you later. And I was like, oh, maybe this isn't so bad. I'm like high on heroin. And it was one of the hardest things. And all these terrible things happened. But what saved my life there was a chemotherapy. So this was the climax of what helped save my life. Now, I will say this, conventional medicine helped save my life. For everyone out there who's angry at their doctors and feels like nothing's working and you're hearing things that are bogus, like food doesn't matter, which is absolute bogus, you've got to just put things into place, try to forgive what the conventional medicine is doing. They're great at what they do. They're emergency care physicians. They help save lives, and they help save my life. So I'm forever grateful for that. And they gave me a chemotherapy because my mom kind of took over as the main doctor, called every doctor I'd ever seen. She was talking to a doctor in Florida who had doing a colonoscopy, and in one of his samples, he had found the cytomegalovirus. In one of the samples, 1 out of 10 colonoscopies, okay? And he said, I think that its CMV has taken over his system. His immune system is so weak that his body cannot control this virus. It is rampant in his body. They're not going to find it. Okay, they're not going to find it in his stool. They're not going to find it. Those basic blood tests they were doing, which they didn't. So they convinced the insurance company to give me a antiviral chemotherapy. They did, and I woke up the next day. So I was on that chemo for 30 days. I checked myself out of the hospital, and I was housebound for a year. I had to learn how to walk. I had to get myself off of every drug imaginable. And my family took turns living with me because I didn't want to leave California, living with me for about 3 months. And then the next 9 months, I was good enough to walk around the house and make my own meals and things like that. But I was bed rested for about 2 to 3 months. And it was massive suffering.
God, what an incredible story.
Yeah, it's a big one. And it was a lot of suffering. And I think it's why I'm here. And it's the unique thing I want to offer to you guys all listening out there. And through great pain can come also great power. And I had to heal myself. And there was no Crohn's Colitis program out there. I had the books. I had a few books where it's like these special diets, but nothing nearly as comprehensive of what I needed. I needed an emotional, a nutrition, a supplemental, a lab work, integrative, strategic, all-encompassing program. And I had to build it. And it took me a long time to build it because I didn't have the systems. I had to go find it and piece it together. Like, going back to that, one of the root issues I already telling you guys, a lot of you guys, viral load is a deep root issue with autoimmune disease. I see it all the time. Well, I had to go find a test. I ended up finding a test with Dr. Armin in Germany, who's an MD doctor specializing in root analysis around Lyme disease, HIV, and other autoimmune disease. And he has found that these viruses are deeply connected. Well, I built a custom IBD viral load panel with his lab, tested, and 50% of the clients we test with IBD in our community, 50% are coming back with 1 or more active IgA antibody viral load. Okay. And they're all in the herpes family. I'm seeing Epstein-Barr, cytomegalovirus, Coxsackie, echovirus. I'm seeing VCV, varicella. I'm also seeing enterobacteria like Yersinia and Campylobacter. The difference of his test, because he owns authenticity, he owns the laboratory. I love the way he practiced and how he does it. But he was also not only checking the IgM and the IgG, but he was also checking the IgA, which is local mucosa reaction. And that's what's happening at the brain level, especially with long-term COVID. That's what's also happening with the gut. So people with leaky gut and chronic inflammation in the colon. I've seen people literally, and this is just one, this is not everything. If you're listening right now, this might not be why you have IBS or IBD, but I have seen a large correlation between active IgA viral infection in the colon being spastic, bloody, and just going nuts. And so as I treated that, my colon started calming down. It didn't matter what I ate. That was also one of the complications. If you're out there, and it doesn't matter if you're paleo, if you're plant-based, if you're intermittent fasting, if you're having bone broth all day long, your body's freaking out. There is an underlying, usually pathogen that your immune system is attacking, and it's attacking over and over again. And it doesn't matter how restricted the diet is. So that's ninja level. That's a deeper level, but that was what was going on with me. I had already tried carnivore and paleo AIP. I had already, made my own homemade raw goat yogurt that I was having 3 times a day and doing bone broth fasts and all of this stuff. And my body would just react. And I think it's also correlated if you're out there and you notice that stress makes your colon spastic. I also think, what do we know about viruses and stress? Well, you get super stressed, you get a cold sore. We see reactivation of viruses when the immune system or the nervous system gets out of whack. So we really need to balance that. And most of the time when you're chronically sick, you're also sympathetic dominant. So what was happening? I was sympathetic dominant, stressed out of my mind. I'm going to die. I'm going to get my colon removed. My life is over. I look in the mirror. I see a zombie. I don't see myself. I can't leave the house. And so it's a repetitive nature of stress, sympathetic dominant, circadian rhythms off, then my HIPAA axis is off, my adrenals aren't working, I can't absorb, my gut lining's destroyed, and it's a vicious cycle, as Elaine Godshill says. A vicious cycle where you're so far down, it feels like God has smited you. It feels like whatever reason you were fine, and now it's just, there's no way out. You're like, the verdict is in. That's how it feels. And that's how it was for me. And the first thing, when I got back, I checked myself out of the hospital. Doctors were like, "Are you sure?" I said, "You've done all you can." I literally was on 200 milligrams of prednisone, antibiotics. I was on TPN feeding tube. I mean, legalized heroin, you name it. I mean, is there anything else you can do, sir, besides cut out my colon? No? Okay, I'll come back if I get back into an emergency state.
Yeah, if that's what I need.
What else can you do? I'm stuck in these fluorescent lights. You got no good food. I can't bring in food here. This is a terrible energy. I'm going to go back. I'm going to ground. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to get some sunshine. I'm going to take care of my plants. I'm going to get my own bed, and I'm going to start healing the trauma of this experience. And that's what you got to do. And the first thing in my experience is I healed my mind. The first thing I did is I forgave myself. And a lot of you need to do that right now. Forgive yourself for whatever trauma, whatever's happened in your body, whether it's in pregnancy or whether it's in disease. Just forgive yourself. Get on your own side again. I love tapping for that. Even though my life hasn't been great and I've been feeling worse than ever, I love and accept myself anyways. Start just with that. And then forgive God, and then forgive your parents and forgive the doctors, because it's no one's fault. If you can get there and first start with, it's no one's fault. And then the next step is, but it's my responsibility to fix it. Not the doctors. God's giving you all the power and will help you, and your family will help you, but you've got to be the leader. If you are not ready to take leadership, what does that mean? A leader recognizes what they know, what they listen to, what they eat, when they sleep, if they're going to sit down and meditate. Okay? And that's when my life literally changed, because it was obvious. What can I do? The first thing you can do after that, when you become a leader, as I said, I'm sitting in that house. I can hardly walk. I'm alone, and I'm going to be here for God knows how long. What can I do that can only help me and can't hurt me? That's the next step. That's what I want you to do next. What can I do that can't hurt me, but can only help? Prayer, meditation, grounding, morning and night sunlight, reading books. Get out of your head. What is it? They said a statistic, you have 40,000 the same thoughts every single day. 90% of them are the exact same thoughts over and over again. It's the same trauma on repeat. I'm scared. I'm angry. I'm resentful. I'm sick. I'm over and over and over again. Pick up Joe Dispenza. Pick up Tony Robbins. Pick up anyone that you really love and connect and read the book. Because here's one of the gifts I realized, one of the hacks. I can't read a page and think about my problems at the exact same time. So if you read for 30 minutes, your negative thoughts have been replaced with a leader, a very successful person's thoughts. They are in your head for 20, 30 minutes straight. And that gave me relief from my pain. Because when I read Tony and I read Jordan and I read Joe, it was like, it was this positivity and optimism and good, beautiful energy. And in my mind for 20 minutes, and my heart and my spirit got a break from myself. That's why I love the book by Joe Dispenza, Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. You almost got to get out of you got to give yourself a break from you.
Yeah, you're the second guest that just literally second guest in a row that's speaking about that book. So
He's tapped into it, and the reason is because he's convinced us that science makes it true. If Dr. Joe Dispenza didn't bring the science, you would think he was a voodoo guy. Like, he just talks woo-woo because it's manifestation in quantum physics, right? So that's the next step, because once, I was on a call yesterday with a guy, one of our clients who's in the ER, multiple fistulas, fissures, he's sick as can be. And I said, what's your pain right now in your colon? What's the pain? He said 7 out of 10. I walked him through a meditation of him seeing his best self, being with his family, being completely healed. And I kept him in that meditation for 7 minutes. And I told him to open his eyes after doing deep breathing. And I said, what's your pain in your colon? He said a 4. There, you have to change the signal. You have to realize that energy and physical are actually highly connected. If I tell you that your parents just died in a tragic car accident, that will change you physically. You will cry, you will shake, you won't eat, you will have diarrhea, your autoimmune disease will react. So if that energy exists, the opposite must exist. What happens if you just meditated on being healed and happy and at peace? Look around you right now, guys. This is Eckhart Tolle 101, the power of now. Look around you. Breathe right now. Let it feel good. Right now, just let it feel good. Right now, in your car, through the physics of space and time as you're listening to this recording, right now, look around you and let good energy flow. Stop blocking it. Just feel it. Oh.
A moment of awe. I can't remember who taught me that, but it's moments of awe where it's just 30 seconds.
That's what Eckhart Tolle literally become famous talking about that. Let it feel good. Stop blocking the feel good because of your pain and resentment and anger. I know it is you're rationally upset, but it's not serving you. I know you have a reason. You are right, but being right is not serving you. Let go and start allowing yourself feel good and then run towards good feelings. Everyone says, what's the perfect morning routine? I'll tell you what the perfect morning routine is. Waking up and doing something that feels good. That's perfection. Just follow your feelings. You got to get in touch with your intuition. What feels good? Is it sauna? Is it meditation? Is it a walk with your partner? Is it laughing with your kids? Is it just sitting on the patio with your partner and just talking and saying, I'm not doing sauna today. This feels better. Stop trying to just mentally hack it and just get involved with your intuition. That's the difference between a practitioner and a coach. A coach helps look at you and help you do the thing that works best for you. And that's energy.
Yep.
So those are some of the big things. And if I look at what changed when I was housebound for a year, and then after a year, I went and got a sigmoidoscopy. It was about 90% better. And I was drug-free. When it was that bad, I was on all the drugs.
That's incredible.
And my doctor at UCLA goes, oh, wow, your blood work's normal. Your colonoscopy's great. What have you been doing? Oh, doctor, let me tell you about fermented foods and curcumin. Let me tell you about fiber and its role in the microbiome, the diversity. And look, I found this candida. And oh my God, I had H. pylori and I had these ulcerations. And that's why. Okay. You know what she said? She goes, all right, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
I know. That's what they always say.
I was angry. I wanted her to say, let me share this with all of my clients. Let's get on a speaker. Let me notify the president of the United States that there's something more to this. And that didn't happen. And that's okay. Because it also, I went back to what feels good. And I said, you know what? I'm so thankful for my doctor. Everyone right now, just say I'm thankful for my doctor. They help save lives. They're emergency care physicians. I'm so thankful for them. But doctor, as much as how brilliant you are, I need another teammate. I need someone else to help me with my mind. I need someone else to help me with my nutrition. I want a team. A CEO doesn't rely on one person. Be the CEO of your health. Keep a great doctor on your team, but you want many people on your board when you become CEO. And that's what I did. You want mentors and you want spiritual guides and you want nutrition and supplements and herbs and you want a home to learn and grow. The answer to healing is you becoming the answer. The answer is within and you need to be trained. You need a place to get trained and to build knowledge and to understand yourself. And you're going to try these protocols that Dr. Jane's talking about or I'm talking about, and then you're going to assess how they work for you. And then you're going to continue to customize your plan and how you use these things. Do you need hyperbaric oxygen chamber? Do you need peptides? Do you need red light therapy? Do you need more meditation? Do you need EMT tapping or German new medicine or hypnosis or eye movement desensitization reprocessing? See, I can spit these all out because I've made it my job to explore. I'm an explorer of what's possible and how these things can connect and help my divine body do what it does best. So when you get into that place, it's fun. Natural medicine. So what I've just done there is I've made natural medicine interesting. I made it fun. Here's what's even cooler. especially for all my ladies out there who love to have great skin, great hair, nails, no bloating, flat stomach. Everything you do to heal your body and everything to make yourself look your very best are the exact same thing. If you were in perfect health...
Can we just like let that sink in? Because I think that the beauty industry has just
lost it.
Hijacked. Yeah, like they've just lost it. I see women putting themselves through hell to look nice. And it's like, what are you doing? It's the same step. If you feel good, you look good. That's it. The two go hand in hand.
Well, also, if you're dealing with acne or you're dealing with bloat or you're dealing with hair loss, there's usually a vitamin deficiency. There's a lack of collagen. There's a hormone dysfunction. There's probably a lack of protein. You're having too much sugar. You're having too much processed foods. You're having mitochondrial dysfunction and cellular toxicity.
Totally.
That's all the same thing. That's also giving you problems around Lyme or cognitive function issues or chronic fatigue or fertility, which we should jump into, right? And so the point is, like, when you have an aha moment, I want you to have an aha moment right now. I want you to say to myself, everything I need to create, the person I need to become to heal myself is the exact same person who I'd want to be if I wasn't sick anyways. Meaning the very best version, you at 2.0 and what it takes to heal is the exact same thing. Imagine right now, you're at dinner. And they're all eating crap food and they're all complaining. How many times you're with your friends? Oh, I'm bloated. Oh, I'm so tired. I need 3 cups of coffee. I don't have the energy. Oh my God, I look old. I need to get Botox. Oh my God, I need a tummy tuck. Oh my God. And you're going, I healed myself of this disease and I don't need any of those things. I actually look the best I've looked. And they look at you and you go, oh my God, you don't get bloat? Your energy's good? You don't need coffee? How do you live without eating this gluten? How do you live without having this glyphosate-filled high sulfate, crappy wine? How do you do it? Well, I actually feel great without it. And it was all poison and it was all addiction. And I worked on it and I released all this stuff. And now I feel better forever. And I don't need any of that. They're going to follow you. They're going to be inspired by you. They're going to want to pay you because even though they weren't sick like you, they want what you have because that's sinking in. That is what changed me. I'm chronically sick and I'm looking, wait, who I want to be in the future and healing Crohn's colitis is the exact same recipe. I'm 37. I don't think and worry about being obese. I'm not worried about diabetes or the real deadly horseman because of the pain Crohn's and colitis cause at a young age that I've already changed my life, that the risk of cancers and heart disease and diabetes is minuscule because I don't poison myself. I eat what I want, but I don't poison myself, you see?
Yeah.
See, if we can coach you into changing your perspective of what success is, what happiness is, what food is, what a perfect lifestyle is, to be in balances. If you can shift that, you'll win. Where you're struggling with is you're hearing great advice around the internet, but it is too overwhelming for you because it doesn't fit your current lifestyle that your friends and family and community are living, which is actually poisonous.
Yep.
And you've got to start inspiring yourself to change. Go ahead, Dr. Jane.
Well, what I was going to say is like a lot of the times you're comparing yourself to people that you don't want to be like. And so, I mean, I have that a lot in the fertility community. They're like, this person got pregnant and they didn't do anything. They're still eating McDonald's or they're still drinking or they're going out. Why do I have to do X, Y, and Z? And it's just like, well, is that like, do you want their life? No. Okay. So let's not compare. Like, it's just such a waste of energy to compare yourself to somebody who you do not want to be like at all. You are jealous of the fact that they got pregnant, and we can understand that because that's what you want, but you don't want that pregnancy, you know?
Yeah. I'm going to say something direct to everyone listening right now. And it might be a little bit too direct to you, but just, I got to say it. I got 2 kids, okay? I got 2 sons. Getting pregnant was just step 1. My efforts on what I do, the most important thing is that my kids don't get Crohn's and colitis. So in my mind, I'm 100% sure that if I continue to eat crap food and continue to live a bad lifestyle, that the chance of my kids getting Crohn's and colitis will 10x. This is not just about me and my need for kids. This is about making sure that I not only have my kids, but they are healthy. And I'm going to do everything in my power to make sure that they stay healthy. Right now, both my boys are fine. They're good. They're healthy as can be. And I'm going to do everything in my freaking power to make sure it stays that way. And that means, like, see, I'll tell you, with my kids right now, they don't have gluten because there's no gluten in the house because I don't eat gluten. If you don't work on your habits, your kids will take your habits. They won't, like, and the same thing I noticed recently, I really worked on my TV addiction because the more TV I want, the more TV my kid asks for. The less TV, I just did a 30-day detox of no TV. And guess how much TV my kid asked for? About 15% as much as how much he was asking for before. Because I turned that TV on, he immediately asked for his show. Your kids pick up your habits. Why won't my kids go to bed? Because I won't go to bed. So I've realized that it's not just me that I'm hurting. It's my kids hurting if I don't work on my habits. Now, I've been doing this for 12 years, so I'm a bit of a ninja, so I hold myself to very high standards. It didn't happen overnight. It was a little bit at a time. You're ready to ask your spirit for more and more as you go. So listen to where you are right now and ask yourself, but get in balance with that. I'm still getting in balance where I don't want to watch TV and I want to go to bed at 8:30 because my kid goes to bed at 8:30 and I'd rather wake up at 5:30 than stay up till 10:30. Because in my heart, I know I'm a sunrise guy and I like the optimism of the morning. You know, the nights, there's just nothing good going on at night. There's just bad food and bad TV and EMFs and blue light. Like, you know, I'm a dad now. I don't need to be going out drinking and doing all this stuff. So that's just where I'm at. And that's where my spirit has come to balance with where I'm willing to live. And that's not easy for us to do. So, and that's all what Crohn's colitis taught me. So all that pain turns to purpose. So right now, I want you to say out loud that I am dedicated to turning my pain to purpose. And that this will be a superpower for me. And everything I've gone through is going to help my children and my parents and my siblings and everyone I care about be that much better. Because as I walk through this fire, everyone will gain value from it. Everyone will be better because of this. And that's what really has pushed me. That if I turn into a victim, it makes everyone's life worse. If I become empowered and I do everything in my power to own this and get better, everyone gets better. Because then someone calls me and says, hey, Dane, I've got diarrhea. Hey, Dane, I got this, I got that. All the time I got family calling me, asking me questions about their health because I've got so many resources to help now. So I'm now just a massive value to the world. So I go, oh my God, now instead of this being the worst thing that ever happened to me, now I have massive value to give to those that I love, making me more valuable, increasing my confidence and increasing what I've felt I can do on this planet and the sense of rootedness and contentment I have at a spiritual level. You listening right now, you want to be of value in this world. This is the way. This is it. Turn your pain to purpose. Diagnosed with purpose. Jane, that's my new podcast. You're coming on. Okay? Diagnosed with purpose. I'm actually being very serious right now. We actually are creating that podcast right now. And I'm just going to be preaching. Okay? And then Dr. Jane's going to come on and preach. But I want to now get into some intrinsic stuff because I know the mind and all this is really great. But let's now dive into some stuff. I want to talk about pregnancy. I want to talk about Crohn's and colitis and gut health with pregnancy. And I also want to talk about some root issues around Crohn's colitis. I know a lot of people want to hear. The most common root issues I see with Crohn's colitis are going to be number one, pathogenic. Okay. So pathogenic, go ahead.
Can I ask you a question about the pathogenic? Because you talked about the viral load. What is the connection to chemicals, especially in the cell core world? They talk a lot about how it's the chemicals, the toxins, the environmental toxins causing the pleomorphism of the different bacteria, and then also just like down regulating the immune system. So I was curious, why are so many people having this high viral load?
That's a great question because, and no one knows for sure, but we have our opinions on it because we know that Epstein-Barr virus didn't just happen in the last 20 years. Okay, now it might have mutated to become more dangerous, like Shiga E. coli versus E. coli, which is a perfect example that it was a neutral bacteria in the 80s and then it became a problem in the later 2000s, right? So we do know that they can metamorphosize to become a problem against us. And then that can go into a realm of consciousness, like what we think and what we feel can actually aggravate the bacteria and change how they are, because they are single cell organisms that are conscious and work symbiotically with us, but they can't based on our stress levels. There's even clinical evidence to show that how we feel and our stress and what's going on in our microbiome can change the bacteria to be antagonistic against us as a host. So that's a deep hole, but really what we see with the toxins, right, is toxicity overload. Every single sick person has one of the core issues to be toxic overload. And then we have poor drainage pathways. So it's a level of inability to detox or drain, and it's then regulating where the toxic load is. So no matter what disease you have, and this is where it all comes full circle, the deeper we look at Crohn's colitis, it's the exact same thing of all disease. So if you look at any disease, if me and Dr. Jane sat down and she just talked to me about the fertility issue and I talked about the Crohn's issue, there would be about a 70% overlap of what we're treating. If I sit down with someone with multiple sclerosis, I sit down with Crohn's disease, there'll be about a 70% overlap of what we're treating. And that's why she started this podcast by saying the gut. See, one of the things that makes me so impactful in getting such massive results, we have more testimonies of healing Crohn's colitis than anyone around the world. We put out one a week. We have hundreds, more than any clinic doctor around the world, okay? Because we see about 130 Crohn's colitis clients a week around the world right now, every single week. And so we've built, this is all we do, right? And all our team has Crohn's colitis. We're specialists of this. But there's such a major overlap. So if I talk to a mold specialist, I'm going to need to learn what they need to learn because there's going to be a certain degree of mold as a problem here. Okay. So that overlap is part of the answer, is that when we go to Cellcore and we look at these different companies, they're saying, hey, this is a problem for disease in itself, no matter how you label it, but it's manifesting in different terms or the body's responding different. So with IBD, it's a chronic cytokine autoimmune reaction going on localized in the gut, but we also see it linked with abscesses, which is outside of the gut. We see it linked with arthritis, which is outside of the gut, infertility. So we're going, oh, maybe Crohn's isn't just Crohn's. There's systemic things happening everywhere. So you have to realize that the body is diseased and that there are avenues that you have to treat with any state. So there's pathogenic, there's toxic overload, and toxic could be said in many different forms. There's an energy, there's a toxic energy, there's EMF, there's chemicals, there's, traumas, there's clothes. I mean, it's just everywhere, right? So you have to understand and start just reducing your toxic load. And I think you had a great PDF on reducing toxic load. But, you want to start looking at your house and saying, okay, how can I change my eating habits? How can I change my smelly candles? How can I change my deodorant, detergents, mouthwash? I mean, all of it. You really have to second guess all of it. Now, is that going to stop the bleeding in the stool? Is that going to make you pregnant tomorrow? No, but you have to start reducing the load on the body, which will then help your liver. It'll help your lymphatic system. It'll help when you sweat out in your skin. It'll help your cells because there are intercellular toxicity. So if you look at any like mitochondrial dysfunction, you also still have to deal with all these chemicals that are disrupting the thyroid and the hormones and all of that. So it's all kind of in that same realm. But a lot of the root issues I see driving Crohn's colitis is going to be local gut candida or fungi, mold candida. We see a lot of that. So I've seen clients where they're ready to get surgeries and they've been on biologic suppressants that are not working. And I do a simple quantitative PCR stool analysis and I find 5x the normal threshold of candida just sitting in their stool. I put them on low sugar, right? I start treating candida, maybe things like berberine, oregano, colloidal silver. I start healing the choline, maybe mucosal healing enemas. I build a very specific plan and the symptoms just start going away. And now they know one of their main root issues is that candida. Now, they could also have biofilm issues. They could have other issues, but we also first want to say, what is driving that intense cytokine response in the gut? For me, what drives it the worst is viral load, okay? If I get and see, you cannot eradicate Epstein-Barr virus or cytomegalovirus, but you can be testing it. Like ELISpot technology, Dr. Armand does ELISpot with CMV and EBV. For those two specifically, you can keep testing and you can have a maintenance protocol using natural therapies to regulate those. And then you need to understand how to boost your immune system to make sure that these things don't continue to go up. So we know that high vitamin D, we know that a microbiome diversity, we know that fat solubles, we know that a healthy nervous system balance and circadian rhythm is going to help manage any viral load reoccurring. And then I'll use things like Ticuna and Hatunia. I love Nutrimetics. If you don't know them, you got to check out Nutrimetics. They're amazing. But they're single product. They have frequencies just like Cellcore on their product, positive frequencies, and then they're in dropper form. So it's great if you're dealing with children or you're really sensitive and you can't just take capsules and you can't take those dosages. Like Cellcore, Designs for Health, they're all really great companies, but they do a lot of multi-product capsules and you can't microdose as well. And you don't, for sensitive clients, we don't know how they're going to respond so well to everything in Para 2. Whereas if we just did a little bit of neem oil, it might work a little bit better, right?
Totally.
So you have to, I love Nutrimetics for that. They have a lot of different stuff. There's a lot of clinical evidence. They have a single stevia. I just did a presentation with their doctor on staff yesterday talking about stevia being able to eliminate E. coli, C. diff, and a biofilm disruptor. And it's just a simple, sweet, one-off product that you can microdose one drop at a time, and you don't have to take a capsule. And I'm like, that has its advantages, right? So I don't mess with biofilms if you're new to this. Don't even worry about that term if you don't know what I'm talking about, okay? Just push that 6 months ahead.
I think it's very much you need a clinician to your very specific case where, even then you had books and you had mentors, but for the most part, it's because there wasn't really that much information out there on the topic, where now we have these platforms. And that's why I love inviting people like yourself on the platform to be like, hey, this guy almost died. And when I looked at your pictures on Instagram, I just couldn't believe it because it's 120 pounds versus what you look like now. It's like, that's insane. So, if you could do that for yourself, if you could do that for yourself, it's
Well, and it's also, and I think, Dr. Jane, you can attest to this, that when you become an expert at this, it's so much about what you do on a day-to-day basis. I've dedicated the last 10 to 12 years working in functional medicine, partnering with different FDs. I have 3 doctors on staff. I live this on myself, but I've also worked with 2,000 people with IBD. One of the probably, I'm talking months. I would see 45 clients a week for years. And I would work with them for a minimum of 3 to 4 months each person. And I'd see them once a week. So it was like, and I'm 3-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 10-year-olds, 12-year-olds, people with this for 40 years, people with multiple surgeries, fistulas, abscesses, gastritis, histamine intolerance, lymphocytic colitis, cholangioitis colitis, I mean, everything, pancolitis, all of it. And I say to all the physicians out there, you have to take on really tough cases that you're uncertain to get better. And you just need to have trust and integrity. When I work with a client who's really severe, I say first thing's most important, we have trust and integrity. That I'm going to do my absolute best and do everything even though your case is tough or maybe your case is a little unique and different than what I've worked with so far. And I teach that to our coaches is like, look, you're going to have cases where you're not going to hit it out of the park. No one bats 1,000. But if you come with trust, integrity, and you put your everything into it and you just push it with that client and go above and beyond, no one's going to be angry at it, and you just got to learn how to move the needle. It is a chess match.
But there's no guarantee in my space, and there's a lot of pressure. But I always say, like, listen, I'm going to do the best that I can. And if you listen to the things that I do and you're open and you're also just like keeping me up to date, because there's a lot of people who will withhold information like, oh, I had a terrible headache for a week. And it's like, why didn't you message anything? Why didn't you say anything, right? Because they're not used to having a doctor that actually wants to know your symptoms. They're used to having a doctor that say, oh, that's normal, take a Tylenol or whatever. And so it's almost retraining people to actually talk about their symptoms. And yeah, it's hard to be mad at someone who's trying to help you.
Exactly. Well, let's finish those root issues and let's jump into what some protocols for people trying to get pregnant and dealing with IBD or maybe IBS as well. So Candida, big one. Viral load, big one.
And this is true for both males and females, correct? Because I actually have quite a bit of male patients will come in and the females will be, no, I'm the problem. The sperm is fine, but he does have colitis. And it's like, okay, what? Because, to me, it's like, just because the sperm parameters seem okay, the health of your husband or your partner, like, it's not good. So we need to look at that.
Yeah. If you've been diagnosed with IBD, there's probably a real malnutrition issue at a cellular level. I'd actually do a micronutrient panel to check the serum and the white blood cells to see what kind of deficiencies are going on, because it's a big problem. I mean, you're talking about when you have chronic inflammation, you have cellular damage, which is going to affect the cellular absorption of nutrition and even, getting in your body. I mean, commonly we're anemic and electrolyte deficiencies and B complex deficiencies and fat soluble. I mean, fat absorption is a huge problem. I'd say it's one of also the root issues we can go into besides pathogenic. But the last pathogenic, we see parasites as a common problem. A lot of times with parasites, I'm not sure, but I deeply feel that the fistulas and fissures are connected to parasites. I think those freaking parasites are causing those holes and issues going on. So
I think Dr. Dodd would agree with that.
Oh, yeah. Well, he thinks everything's parasites. He's like, oh, it's all parasites.
Yeah, it's all parasites.
But I do think, fissures and fissures and maybe even hemorrhoids as well. And then mucus in the stool, I see to be connected as well with parasites, itching of the anus, because someone said this is kind of gross, but the microscopic parasites are laying eggs outside the rectum because of the environment. And that creates that itching and reaction around the anus. And so, you got to treat that stuff. I like using DMSO, colloidal silver. That seems to help calm it down. And then obviously you want to do a parasite cleanse, but you need to be working with a clinician. I've had so many people try to do cell course parasite cleanse. And
even if the products are good, you still need to know what to do with it. That's like, I've had people all the time. Yeah.
If you have IBD, don't know. Even the dose that Cellcore recommends to start at, we start at like 25%. We do everything specific for IBD because people with IBD tend to be so backed up in their drainage pathways. It's only when their liver got so backed up and they stopped being able to move bile and their lymph is completely clogged that they start getting the constipation and blood and urgency and weight loss. So usually they're really bad by the time they're actually diagnosed. Or if they're a person saying, I'm 15 bowel movements a day, 90 pounds, 30 pounds underweight, we're like, okay, you shouldn't even be thinking about parasite cleanse for a while. You need to go through a lot of hoops first to prepare your body. So parasites, Candida. Mold is kind of that hidden one that we don't see drive the blood and the urgency and diarrhea, but we see it drive more systemic inflammation, connection with sears, chronic fatigue, sensitivities to stress, sensitivities to houses and things like that. So Mold seems to be like a layer 2 problem in there, but we do see a lot of it, mold coming back. And then, bacteria, H. pylori is a huge problem. Why? Because H. pylori is lowering your stomach acid. And once your stomach acid goes down, that creates an environment for IBS. That creates an environment for SIBO, which is small intestine bacteria overgrowth, small intestine fungal overgrowth. Healthy digestion and pancreatic enzymes is so key for gut health. And so you got to think more upstream. One of the best things I love is a product called Gastromend, HB by Designs for Health. It's got the zinc carnosine, the vitamin U, the mastic gum, the deglycerized licorice root all in one. You can Herx on it if you don't know what you're doing. You should be working with a clinician because it is an anti-pathogenic. But it's, to start treating that H. pylori, I've seen people's ulcerations go away in their MRI scans. So an example, I was working with a woman who was symptom-free of Crohn's, but her scans were showing severe Crohn's disease in her ileum and in her duodenum. And then the doctor was saying, I'm sorry, I cannot advise you. And she was in New York. She was an actress. She did very well. And she was working with the best doctors in New York. And they all said, I do not advise you getting pregnant because of your active Crohn's. Even though you don't have symptoms, you need to go on biologics. She, like a lot of our listeners right now, did not want to go on biologics. She goes, I do not want to be on biologics and get pregnant. I'm sorry. I refuse. She calls me up and she goes, Dane, I've been working with a functional doctor for years. He's helped me a lot. I intermittent fast. I'm gluten-free. I have no processed dairy. I eat clean. And I have 2 normal bowel movements a day. So she goes, what do I do? So I said, well, and this is one of those cases where I was like, this is a little different. And she wants to get pregnant immediately. So I said, I built trust and integrity, talked to her about the pros and cons, what I thought I could do, what I didn't think I could do. And then she agreed and she said, whatever you can do, Dane, I just do everything you can. I trust you. Let's do it. So I work with her. And what I did is when I looked at it, I saw ulcerations in the upper GI and I tested her for H. pylori. It came back negative. Even in the PCR test came back negative. And I'm thinking biofilms, upper GI, it's not showing up in the stool. You know what? I think it's a false negative. I treated her for H. pylori anyways. The next day, when I start her on a micro dose of antiprolactin, she gets diarrhea and urgency and she starts panicking. She starts herxing. She has this pretty severe Herxheimer reaction. I go, chill out. You're going to be fine. I think we just hit bullseye with this and you have an H. pylori infection that was a false negative in the test. Tests are not always good. The upper GI is not seen in stool analysis. Testing the upper GI is very difficult, okay? So I go, calm down. I said, do A, B, and C to calm down the Herx. And I put her on a binder. I took her off the mastic gum. I did a few things. Within 2 days, she was back down to normal bowel movements. I started off at a lower dose and slowly titrated her up. Then I started using peptides like BPC 157 and TB 500. I used an oral version and I used BPC arginate salt, which gets past the stomach acid. And then I used single strain isolated probiotics that were powder form that still have the growth medium attached. I usually actually don't like multi-strain capsule probiotics. And so I had this methodical plan and she already had a lot of things placed, right? But she was missing some of the stuff. 3 months later, she goes to the same doctor. She does her CT scan or her MRI. Now, mind you, her insurance always covers this scan once every 6 months. We got one shot at this. She's done this scan 4 times. It's been bad, worse, worse, worse. Fasting, perfect diet, all these supplements, right? Worse, 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 worse. She goes in. I kid you not. I get a smile on my face saying this. The doctors can't find any signs of Crohn's colitis. Zero ulcerations, 3 months, 90 days. Now, I was hoping for 30%. She calls me on the phone crying. I'm like, what's wrong? Are you going to have to get emergency surgery? She goes, no, there's no signs of Crohn's disease. My doctors were flabbergasted. They didn't even know what to say. They told me that working with you would be a waste of my money and was a scam, and all of that functional medicine stuff was a lie because they are the best of the best doctors and the MDs with the crowns on their head, and they know everything. They couldn't even find Crohn's disease. She gets pregnant. She goes for it. It takes her a while. She gets pregnant. She has her baby. No symptoms of Crohn's colitis. No recurrence. The baby is now 8 months old. Baby's fine. Healthy as can be. She has no recurrence or symptoms of Crohn's colitis. Still normal CT scan. She just did a colonoscopy. I think it's been 3 years. And see, our community, they stay involved in our membership. So we have a whole community where people talk. She comes in and says, hey, I just got my colonoscopy. Look normal. 3 years later.
Yep.
Endoscopy and colonoscopy.
Because she had the lifestyle, right? Like she already did all of the stuff. She was just missing, she was just missing a couple of those pieces. Like you said, there's the 70% of the stuff that we do the same, but the 30% that you're talking about, like the individual probiotics and I think with your knowledge, you caught the fact that it was H. pylori, even though it didn't show up on the test. It's like you caught that because you had the knowledge and the experience before.
Now, and what do you do, guys, as clients? You need to be asking why. One of the biggest mistakes you're making is you're just listening to your doctor or practitioner and just doing what they tell you without asking why and learning the strategy. What I want you to do is go, okay, doc, I get you want me to take this because this. We think this is root issue. This is what we're going after. We're trying to prove this, and we're going to reassess in 2 months. Is that right? And I'm taking these 4 products, and these are the 3 sentences on what these products do and why I'm taking them. Is that right? Do that, please. That's exactly what I teach people. Stop doing what you're told and start understanding why. You need to be trained. If you can't think like your doctor, because your doctor's just thinking for your case, you don't need to be the doctor. You need to think how your doctor and practitioner and health coach thinks for you. I'm doing this for you. This is why. This is my strategy for you. And a lot of doctors are so burnt out and overwhelmed with clients that they're going, take these 5 things, come back to me in a month. And that's it. And there's no strategy. And there's no teaching. It's like a breath of fresh air. That, honestly, here's the secret, guys. In the long run, that teaching is worth more than the symptom relief because the symptoms can come back. But if the training's there, you can respond. You need to have a log. So if something happens in a year, you're looking through your log and you go, why did I take this? Why did I take this? What dosage did I take? How did I do this? That's what you're paying for. That's the jewel, is the why. And especially if it works, I would be starring it, highlighting it, put it on the wall, man. Put it in a plaque. So it's understanding the why, and that might need to change. I might need to add something and do something. I know what Dr. Jane's doing with her health is different than it was 2 years ago or even 4 months ago. We ourselves are always tweaking what we're doing, and that's part of the learning. And so you have to respond to adversity, not eradicate it. You have to respond to it. It's a moving chess match. It's a moving thing. Health is much like love. It doesn't just happen. It's not just there. It has to be nurtured. It has to be balanced. It has to be said and done over and over again. Okay? And that's what health is, a balance. It's a moving conscious thing. So those are a lot of the root issues. Another one, drainage pathways. I was working with an ND doctor who couldn't figure out her Crohn's class. She comes to us and her liver was completely blocked and she was having no bile production and she couldn't get rid and she was constipated. And we literally, castor oil packs, I put her on Kale Support by Cellcore, castor oil packs, and a few other things. And then we worked on her nutrition a little bit. It was a little off on the sugars and the complex carbs. She was still having some seed oils in certain ways. And we did a few other things. I can't remember exactly all the stuff we did, but all of a sudden her constipation went away in like 2 weeks. She'd been constipated for 2 years. Now those are home runs, okay? Not everything's a home run, but a home run is possible and you should know that. So I see another root issue, overtoxicity, drainage pathways. If you have an autoimmune, if you are chronically sick, drainage pathways is a problem. Your liver is a problem. It's gut and liver. For me, it's those 2 things. And then it's the lymph. And, we need to get into, I don't know if you know Dr. Stephanie, I'm forgetting her last name. She's amazing, but she's really, Castestro, she's Italian.
Dr. Stephanie Estima is another one.
She's a DC, but she works with a lot of celebrities and stuff like that. And we've been talking about the deep lymph versus regular lymph. Like she's building a protocol about deep lymph stagnant issues beyond just massages and dry brushing and sauna and trampolines and things like this. And I like to use Berber Panella by Nutrimetics. You should check that out. It's really good for the lymph. I know Lymphactive is another product, but like the deep lymph is also something. Like I had a client who had serious deep lymph issues and his mom actually became a lymph practitioner and he would do a lymphatic massage twice a week and he hasn't had a symptom in 3 years. His mom's actually a practitioner, found me at Cellcore, texted me when we were at Cellcore saying, I just wanted to thank you for help saving my son's life. And so I was like, oh, I'll meet you outside. And I saw her. I actually have a video of it. If your community ever wants to see it, I have a video right here. But she's talking about how her son hasn't had a symptom of ulcerative colitis in 3 years. And I said, what do you think's been one of the things that's really helped him long-term not have any symptoms come back? Lymph. He continues. She does lymphatic massages on him. She got involved in it, and she had a lymphatic masseuse come and work on him just every single week, like conditioning. And so I think that, what are the 4 main drainage pathways, guys? You got the skin, you got the gut, so you need the poop, you need the sweat, you need to move the lymphatic system, which is, moves toxins through the blood or the tissue and drains it through your body, so the lymphatic system, and then you need to work on the liver. The liver is going to also support the pancreas and the gallbladder, but the liver is where you got to have good bile flow. If you have no bile flow, you cannot drain toxins. What is bile? Bile is what breaks down fat. That's what it's known for, right? Breaking down fat, but it's made by the liver, not by the gallbladder. The gallbladder stores the liver. And you need to have movement through the bile ducts, okay? And you need to move it and it needs to be properly dumping that into the duodenum so it can be released through what? Through the gut and not be reabsorbed into the body. That's why binders are so important. So you've got to get your drainage pathways working. And if you push your toxins by releasing toxins out of your body too quickly, you're going to feel worse. This happens with distilled water. This happens with sauna. This happens with parasite cleanses. When you do a parasite cleanse, you're releasing just as much toxins as you are killing parasites. Like it's good because there's so much more toxin release happening, but for most of you out there, it's way too much and you're going to make yourself feel terrible.
Oh yeah, the bioflow. I mean, it's not just about detox. It's too, like, I think hormones and your absorption of fat soluble vitamins, production of hormones, getting rid of hormones, like, it's all connected. I almost think that if we're just doing drainage, that's the 70% of the stuff.
Yep. Because the body's divine.
Yeah.
Because you're just enabling the body to do what it naturally does. You're like, oh, this just needs to work. You just need to help the body. It's not you, it's the body. It's not us as practitioners. It's us just helping the body go whoop and doing it. And so that's harder for some of us. I mean, if you have methylation issues, or, I mean, some people just really cannot detox, and you have to be very careful of toxicity load around you. Anything from EMFs, as we talked about, household stuff, air, food, soil, clothes, detergents, smells, and get some essential oils in there. Transderma. I love Vibrant Blue. Jodie Cohen's amazing on that. And so those are a lot of the root issues. Those are basic fundamentals of what I see. Pathogenic, toxic load, drainage issues, stress, nervous system. Most of you are stuck in the sympathetic state and your sleep stinks. It should be blackout in your room. If you don't get it, your circadian rhythm is going to be off, and that's going to throw off your hormones as well. No TV. If there's a TV in your room, turn off this podcast, go take the TV and throw it out the window, okay? All right, either that or move it downstairs. Pick one, but get it out of your room right now, okay? Get it out of your room. Stop charging your cell phone next to your head.
But I like to watch TV before I go to bed.
Oh, God, you got to get rid of that habit. It's not helping anything. And that's the time you can talk to your significant other. That's the time you can read. You can go to bed and wake up early, especially if you're just watching acting. If you're not watching anything educational, I get it if you're watching education. If you're just watching Friends or Seinfeld or something, it's like, come on, you're sick. You're here listening because you've been sick, okay? Or you're here listening because you want to get pregnant. Like, no stone. And remember, what was our first rule or our second step? If it can't hurt you, it can only help you. Can it help you to watch TV at night? Can it help you to have that EMF in your bedroom? No, there's not one way it can help you. Can it hurt you?
Why do you think people have such a hard time getting rid of some of these habits? Like, why do we have such a big attachment?
Because you haven't been, honestly, I'm going to give it to you straight. You haven't had enough pain. For me, it was just pain. I suffered so much that I got to a point where I said, if it's not helping me, it's hurting me. I went to bed at 1 a.m. on average when I was in college and when I was younger. And I went through so much pain and suffered so much that my bedtime as a big boy was 9:30, 9. I called my girlfriend at the time I had a significant other, thank God, when I was sick. And I told her, I said, my phone's on airplane mode. It's out of my room. If you text me, call me at past 9, I'm not here. Don't try to make plans, but no, I was strict because I was tired of being sick. Are you tired of being sick? Then do everything. And you go, well, Dane, is TV really going to be effective in my pregnancy? Maybe not, but it's just one thing that you have to not worry about. It's like my priority is to heal. My priority is to get pregnant. What are you doing? Like, if it can't hurt and can only help, integrate it. Your TV's downstairs. You'll live. It'll be okay. And your relationship will probably get better to talk to your significant other or read a book or just go to bed. It's keeping you up and it's affecting your circadian rhythm. You're not falling asleep as better. And you might have to be taking more ambient or melatonin because of the TV. And here we are buying blue light blockers. Just stop watching it. You don't need $200 blockers. Just stop watching it. Throw it out the freaking window. And see, I am a TV addict. I say it with such conviction because I'm an addict. So I have a lot of times just done 30-day cleanses. There is no TV. I am not watching TV for 30 days. I'll give myself my cell phone. But you see, it really helps. That's another thing. This is emitting a lot less EMF and blue light than that. So let's not go too far in a tangent. But with pregnancy, I want to ask yourself, if you're really committed, get rid of the things that can't help you and can only hurt you. Look at simple snack changes in the house. For me, as I've healed and gotten better and better, I'm actually at a point where I don't like snacking. I try to eat meals specifically and try not to snack. I went from Doritos. When I first tried this, guys, just to let you know how hard this is, I would be going nuts on the sugar, and I would go to 7-Eleven. I get chocolate donuts, Doritos, combos, and gummy bears. I would eat them, and then I'd spit them out in the trash can. That's how much I was yearning for them. And then it went to corn chips, and then it went to almond crackers, and it went to baked this and that. And now I'm like, okay, stop snacking.
That's the problem. To stop the actual thing.
That's 8 years of looking at it. And the reason is because I want to continue to feel my best. because I know what it's like to feel terrible. I know what it's like to be sick. And maybe that trauma still drives me, to be completely honest. But I also look back and I say, how does this serve me? And am I happy? Can I really be happy? You have to meditate on that. Can I be happy in this lifestyle? I don't want you to turn into a monk eventually. You really want to be happy.
Unless that's what you want.
Exactly. But that's where the meditation comes in. That's where the self-reflection. So with pregnancy, and oh man, I really want to hit a lot of the pregnancy. The thing that's tough if you're trying to get pregnant is you can't do a lot of this stuff once you're pregnant. And I think that you should deliberately not try to get pregnant for X amount of time, but go 100%. If you have IBD, IBS, you should be saying, now's my time to be very specific with my nutrition, my snacking, my supplemental program. I want to get in a community. I want to get training. Get involved. Find someone you trust. Find someone who has integrity and lead and get trained and get a coach. I really think that's where I'd spend my money. If it was me, I'd get a coach.
And even my relationships, I think that's a really big part. So when I struggled with IBS, a lot of the times what triggered it was anxiety. And the worst time I had my IBS was when I moved away from home, starting naturopathic school in a brand new city. You don't know anyone. I'm single. And that it was a doctor, a naturopath that connected my mental and emotional state to that nervous system. Once I actually felt heard and understood and connected to the emotions, which was like loneliness and, sadness and frustration. Once I actually felt those things instead of trying to run away from them, there was a huge relief in my symptoms just from that. And I see so many women, more so I think than men, but I'm not sure if that's really the case, where we're just in these relationships where, I got to go to this birthday party and I got to do this and I'm like, how many of those things do you actually want to do? And you're just stuck on the cycle. It's like, well, I can't make this choice for food because it's a birthday party or it's a whatever. And I'm like, well, I'll go to a birthday party and I have no issue saying no to stuff. Why do you have an issue saying no? Right? And how many of those things do you actually want to be doing? I don't get really invited to a lot of stuff. It's like, that's on purpose. There's no bachelorette parties that I'm going to because I don't really want to be there.
Yeah. I think a good write-down takeaway for everyone just on that brilliant thing Dr. Jane said is, are you saying yes to the right things? And are you saying no to the right things?
Yeah, 100%.
And both yes and no have great power. And maybe you're not saying no enough. And then maybe you're not saying yes enough to the right things. And that, for me, the catalyst was Dane 2.0 and this are the same thing. I actually believe I'll be a happier person like this. I don't think getting rid of these things is an addiction and a false sense of happiness, a false sense of truth. And so I bet on that. Even though I didn't feel that way, you're not feeling that way right now. That's the problem. But I'm betting on it. I'm betting on as I release it, I'm going to have this awakening of you know what? My life is actually better this way. And I see it time and time in our community. Are you happy eating this way? Are you happy and healthy at the same time? Yes, I am, Dane. And I go, there you go. You've gone through the fire. It's a false sense of truth. It's a matrix.
I love that you said that because one of my patients and it was the male, because I always bring on the male partners and sometimes the males don't think that they have anything to improve on until, of course, we run lab testing. And I'm like, well, this isn't normal and this is.
Being unhealthy is considered masculine. That's the problem. I don't ask my buddy out to go out to grab a glass of water. I ask him for a beer, right?
You should, though. You should. Let's change it.
Yeah. If you get a salad at the restaurant, it's considered feminine, right? Not like, oh, he's feminine. It's just like there's an energy to it. Men don't feel like themselves. So
burger and fries.
Yeah. But with pregnancy, I know. So guys, I think the easier thing for our pregnancy was I was already on that train. Men, your strongest self, your most masculine self is healthy and powerful and smart and energetic and at a cellular level teeming with normal, healthy testosterone and clean cells. You will get stronger in the gym. You will have less belly fat. Your skin will look better. Your hair will be more thick. Your eyes will be more sharp. You will be more clean and strong, and you will not be controlled by fake poison. You are controlled, sir. You are not your most powerful self. You got a chain around that ankle, sir. You are not your warrior self, and you know it. See, I could talk to men all day long about that. You are weakening yourself, sir. Stand up and go towards your dominant masculine self, and it will help your wife and it will help your children. And walk through the fire and second guess what you believe to be masculine and second guess what you think you can and cannot do. Do not choose laziness and convenience. Choose the strength of empowerment. That's why you're having children in the first place, right? Because you're going to be a great father and you're going to be a leader. Lead your children, lead your family, and get them away from poison. There's a difference between pizza and beer and poison. You have to learn the difference. Stop poisoning yourself and allow your genetics and allow your God-given talent to flourish and rise to be that strength that it was always meant to be. And the female's point of view, the hard thing is the womb, because you're carrying the child. You cannot be detoxing while you're getting pregnant. It is too dangerous. Now, Dr. Jane might have an opinion on that. It's far superior to mine. I got to look at liability and the crazy government and lawsuits. Listen, no one's testing pregnant women. They say that you can have Remicade and biologics, but you can't have curcumin. I think that's insane. But it's not for me to step over that line. You as a pregnant woman have to do the research, and you have to decide, am I going to take these anti-inflammatories? Am I going to take these products with the children? So what I want you to do is I want you to focus primarily on beneficial bacteria. It is the number one thing that everyone agrees is okay while you're pregnant. Fermented foods, kefir, yogurts, probiotics. Okay, now I like Natren, Natren. Shoot us a message. We'll give you a I'm getting pregnant discount, okay? Just say, hey, I listened to Dr. Jane. Click the link in the bio below. Make sure that'll let us know that you came from her. We're going to hook you up with everything we can. Probiotics, I like powdered form out of a capsule. Why? I get the growth median. The growth median is going to increase the ability for them to cultivate and grow. Did you know in the correct environment, 1 billion CFUs can turn into 10 billion CFUs within about 24 to 48 hours? If I'm going to ship you to India, I want to ship you with your clothes, your fridge, and your house. You get the metaphor? I don't want to ship you by yourself. You're going to die in 2 seconds out there, right? So that's metaphorically with a CFU, colony forming unit. I want growth median. I want powder form. I want isolated strains if you're not ready. I want isolated bifido, isolated acidophilus, bulgaricus, things like that. Those are the main strains that people have been using for 100 years. And when they grow, other bacteria symbiotically grow. I'm not a big believer in the monoculture idea. I think it's a little fugazi for me.
You know, what you added to the detox, and it's like taking these drugs versus curcumin, there's a lot of like, nobody wants to touch a pregnant woman. But I think, like, I don't take pregnant women on, but I have a pregnancy program that I take my patients through on once they're pregnant. And the reason that I don't advertise my pregnancy program through is because if I have no idea who you are, like what your drainage pathways are, your detox, we haven't ran all the lab work before you got pregnant, I can't advise you on anything. But if I've been with you for 6 months to a year and I know exactly the issues that we faced and how you dealt with certain detoxifications, then I've kept women on things that are deemed unsafe during pregnancy with complete safety. And if anything, it really helped the women have a fantastic pregnancy and a healthy child. So I do think this is where it's not, once you're pregnant is not the time to do the work. Now you're just trying to keep the wheels on. This is why it's important to do the stuff beforehand, because you can really set yourself up.
That's 100%, and I agree. I mean, Dr. Jane, having hands-on, especially when you're dealing with a child, is probably the most key thing you could have. But what we've seen a lot of people come to the program, we say exactly what you say. Do the work first before you even consider pregnancy. Try to get all these things. If you want to get off biologics, we've had members successfully do it. That's a personal choice. So we advise strategy, the pros and cons. You make the decision. I cannot make that decision for you. Oh yeah, come off your Remicade, come off Entyvio. No. It's not my place. You get to decide. And same with some of these supplements without clinical research. You have to make that decision because it's the best integrity. Okay, but the first thing is there's a lot of natural foods that we can all agree can be good. You have to work on the microbiome, okay? You have to reset the microbiome. So you want to get rid of the toxins, the processed foods, the seed oils, all that type of stuff. You want to increase your natural proteins. You want to increase your natural fats. You want to increase your natural short-chain fatty acids. I love ghee butter. So what I would recommend is cook a lot with ghee butter. This clarified butter is very high in short-chain fatty acids. It has no casein, no lactose. It's very clean, and it has a very high smoke point, and it's not going to go rancid or create acidic oils like avocado can, and it's not going to have to go through hexane. It's going to be hexane-free, obviously. So that I like to cook with fat. So ghee butter is my absolute favorite. Make sure you're getting natural iron if you want extra iron, and if you're not comfortable with supplementation, I get grass-fed beef mixed, processed with grass-fed liver, and I make those hamburger patties. Men, women, that's going to be a great hat for you. I like to start with coconut kefir because we're all a little bit different with goat and cow, and it's a little hard to get it raw and stuff like that. So I like to use something called Fermentation Fairy, fermentationfairy.com. She's had Crohn's disease, and she made a wild-crafted, at her own farm, coconut kefir, and it's very high, 100 billion CFUs. And they're a little expensive to get them to you. Good stuff is not cheap. If it's cheap, it doesn't work, okay? Let's just put it there. But it costs a few bucks. And get her coconut kefir. I love that. She's also got fermented carrots, and she's got fermented applesauce, so a lot of different fermented foods. So there's some clinical studies show that fermented foods can help support the microbiome even better than fiber, okay? But the other one I want to get a good variety of fiber that you can tolerate. I'm not just talking about raw salads. That might pose problems, especially with IBS, IBD. I'm talking about maybe a whole food elemental shake with a little avocado, acacia fiber, sprouted and grouted, chia seed or flaxseed, or maybe even chia seed pudding, homemade, where it's been broken down and those lectins have been broken down, especially if you have like constipation. That can be really good to move things. Acacia fiber is an insoluble fiber, very delicate. It's my favorite gentle fiber. Acacia fiber feeds good beneficial bacteria, reduces bloating and gas. It's very light, very easy. It's made for IBS, insoluble fiber. And, look at adding in maybe, you have to be careful. Things like, I like a little frozen raw turmeric and ginger in there, but I might even add into a blender, a little cauliflower. Just like because as people get healthier, I'll add a lot of different fibers because I want polyphenols, I want resistant starches, I want prebiotics, and I want it from natural food. If you do it with natural food, no one's going to argue about that while you're trying to get pregnant. So we had another woman in our program, fistulous fissures, one of the worst cases. She hasn't had a symptom in 2.5 years. I talked to her a little bit ago, and she actually filmed a 2-hour case study in my program. So what I'll do is people who've been good for years, I'll do a really long case study where I'll map out their entire program for years. And we mapped out hers. And Mackenzie, what's up if you're listening to this? Because she loves to listen to our podcast. She's got 2 kids. Her husband's in the military. She's trying to get pregnant with her third, and I think she might be pregnant by now. Hadn't had a symptom in 2 years. One of her claims to fame is she did a whole food shake every day, and it kept her like good. She put the world of fiber in here. This is one of the crazy things. As people could healed, I saw people taking so much fiber that the average person would have massive diarrhea, and they were having no problem. One of the things about fiber, see, I love carnivore. It works for a lot of people, but for certain cases, when your body's ready for the physical therapy of fiber is physical therapy for the gut, okay? If your body's ready for it, it can do such a wonderful job of cleaning the colon, okay? A colon that is not properly evacuating is going to get a cytokine response, and you're going to get more ulcerative colitis responses. It's one of the biggest problems is that you're not properly evacuating the colon. You're getting multiple bowel movements. You're getting tiny little sediment at the bottom, and you're getting blood and mucus. So over time, as you get physical therapy, right? If you do physical therapy too quickly, it'll injure you. But if you do it on time, it will be therapeutic. So let me drive this point home. You have a bad knee. Day 1 of a bad knee, I tell you to do jump rope, your knee will get worse. 3 months into bad knee rehab, your knee will get better from the jump rope. There's a paradigm that a therapy can make you worse or better with the same person based on when it's done and how it's done. And that's where I see fiber. Okay?
Yeah, the timing is huge. I mean, the timing, it's like wrong advice at the right advice at the wrong time is wrong advice, right?
And it happens on both ends. I see doctors give brilliant advice on IBD, and then the client does it. They're not ready, like giving biocidin and biofilm busters when you haven't done any drainage support. It's crazy. You don't do that. So, but you start with pureed. You start with isolated supplement fibers. You start with fruit. So I might start with fruits high in polyphenol. I might even throw in things like raspberry, wild blueberry, greenish. So I go from yellow banana to greenish banana because it's lower sugar, it's higher in resistant starch. And I don't get the glycemic spike.
I love the RS fiber, which is basically like the green banana starch fiber. By Designs for Health, the RS fiber. Do you know which one I'm talking about?
I use the paleo fiber RS. Yeah, RS. Yeah, that's got the green banana and the potato starch. And it's got no other preservatives in it. I use that too. Acacia fiber, paleo fiber RS. Greenish banana, and I love my berries for the antioxidants. Now, some studies have shown that bananas can reduce antioxidant load with mixed with berries. Listen, that's so micromanaging, whatever. Forget that for a second. So banana, raspberry, blueberry, I like to keep my sugars low, but fruits are a great place to start with fiber. One of the things with fruits, and David Klein taught me, because I cherry picked to heal. It wasn't one thing to heal, I put it together. So learn and cherry pick here. Fruits are so good at cleansing the colon. Even though they're high in sugar, yada, yada, yada. They're monosaccharides, which are simple carbohydrates that are easily bioavailable. They're really high in water. And the fiber is so light, so squishy, it does a great job of cleaning. It's such a good cleanser. That's why I kept 2 shakes a day when I was housebound, because it helped me poop. I couldn't poop. I'd have 12 bowel movements and almost nothing come out. And someone's going right now going, oh my God, that's me. So you understand the differences. Then I can add isolated supplemental fibers that I can micromanage up. So with Mackenzie, shout out to Mackenzie, what we did with her, and many other clients did this, there was another guy who was eating raw chard every day and he had no symptoms and perfect GI. I was unbelievable. I've seen vegans, and vegans have also shown me the way because I've worked with a lot of vegans of the role of fiber. I've seen great colonoscopies from vegans, great, but there's also problems of phytic acid and glyphosate-filled food, and then fake vegans who eat crap food and they don't know how to do it properly, and grains and polysaccharides, which Elaine God showed us about the specific carbohydrate diet. That's a polysaccharide issue. So you just have to know, that's what food philosophy, you have to know how to use those and manipulate those. And that's one thing Dr. Gundry taught me about lectins and pressure cooking, if you want to have millet and quinoa and things like that, and how to use that properly. And that's how I was able to add in. I could have nuts, seeds, salads, and grains now. And most people who've healed can only eat meat or only eat bananas or things like that, So that's not true healing in my book.
No, it's not. It's very restrictive.
Yeah, if you're a mother, I love the idea because now I've got prebiotics, resistant starches, polyphenols. I've got fermented foods. So I got everything to enhance the microbiome. That's going to help with your natural hormone levels. That's going to help with absorption of nutrients to get to the fetus. That's going to help regulate viral load infection. What do we learn about COVID? Those with stronger microbiome diversity were more likely to be asymptomatic of COVID. 70% of the immune system lives in the gut. Okay? A healthy microbiome is going to help create great molt and GOLT. Okay? So that's gut-associated lymphoid tissue and mucus-associated lymphoid tissue. That's your gut lining. You need that nice and thick and spongy. Okay? So we need to build that up. And then, so again, it's like, oh, am I allowed to take butyrate? Am I allowed to take this, that, and the other? What can you get from food? So a lot of clients have said, look, I'm going to so Mackenzie, she would cut up and peel turmeric and ginger, freeze it, and put it in her smoothies. So she was saying, look, I'm not taking curcumin supplements, but I am eating turmeric, which a lot of Indian women do before pregnancy, and she felt comfortable doing that. So I'm getting natural anti-inflammatories. Curcumin is anti-cancer, it's anti-yeast, it's anti-inflammatory, it helps calm down cytokine reactions, it can help calm down TNF-alpha and interleukin-1 beta, all sorts of stuff. So look to Mother Nature in this, and that's one of the biggest points I can make. It's like if you can start to get on the offense with your food and make sense of it, starting with pureed shakes until that makes sense. And then with your meat, you should be eating red meat, okay? Lamb, organic grass-fed lamb, cooked in ghee butter, slow cooked. Do not cook it in seed oil. That's the problem with restaurants. You cannot be cooking this in canola oil, okay? Sunflower oil, that stuff. So I love it. And then I love lamb, I love bison, I love grass-fed meat. And I always order mine from a farm. So something like Grassroots Farm. Type that into Google. You'll see them. I love those guys. They got great stuff. And then if you go to a lot of places, like one of the reasons I live in California is they got fermentation areas and organic food everywhere. I go down the street. They've got raw kefir, which I give to my 4-year-old son. And they have organic bone broth pre-made in-house. And then they've got grass-fed burgers with mixed grass-fed liver already in it. We're making burgers the other day, and my son's just eating the crap out of them. My wife goes, babe, you know those got liver in it, right? And I'm like, yeah. And I was like, Jason's just destroying them. He's had like 4. I'm like, yeah, good. And then I give him his yogurt and I give him his cream. He likes, because he knows ice cream. I give him his yogurt cream and strawberries every morning. Guess what it is? It's raw cow kefir. Raw. And he's just like, hum with strawberries. So that's the thing is, as you learn this stuff, guys, you can also teach it to the child that you have. That's really the big thing, is making sure your child's healthy, right? Because you don't want your child to get sick like you got sick. So those are the biggest things, is just think about probiotics, microbiome diversity, and then start releasing toxins. That's so much of what you're going to do if you weren't getting pregnant anyways. So start breaking them down one at a time. Lower EMF, lower toxins, any scented candles, perfumes. Look at your forever chemicals and your underwear and your spandex. You need to get organic cotton, okay? You need to go for organic cotton in your stuff. Same with the guys, okay? It's messing with your testosterone and your testes to be wearing that spandex, okay? So go and get organic cotton online and get rid of that underwear. Lotions, shampoos, it's all got these pharmaceuticals that are hormone disruptors, that are thyroid disruptors, and that is affecting the pregnancy.
Yeah, fertility rates for sure.
Yeah, so reduce toxic load. Start with the house. Say, Dane, where do I start? Just start with the house. The fridge, the bedroom, the laundry, the dishwasher, and get air purifiers in the house. I like Air Doctor. And then there's a few other. I know Cellcore doesn't like Air Doctor, and they have another one that's really great for mold and all that.
Jasper is the new kind of kid on the block. I really like him. Mike Filstein, you should check him out.
Awesome.
Yeah. He came on my podcast, like, he's a really smart guy.
Awesome. So yeah, that's what I would do. And then the last thing is join a community, get a coach, get a judge, get a community, go somewhere you have trust and integrity. You can constantly learn and ask questions and grow. And
Yeah, and actually learn, right? Like, take that information so you can take it away. I think you really drove that point home, because I see so many people sometimes like, oh, I hired a coach, but nothing happened. And it's like, what do you mean nothing happened? Like, you learned something that didn't work, or something that did work, you know?
when working with a coach, you want to look, there's a lot of people on the internet now. Look for someone who actually specializes in what you want, and look for someone who has testimonies and success stories doing what you want to achieve.
Yes.
Those two things, okay? Even if they're not a doctor.
Well, I would say another layer is like that they lead a lifestyle that you want in that area, you know, because we see.
Yeah, if they don't practice it themselves, yeah, that's a huge red flag for me. I don't like seeing someone who is not healthy themselves try to preach about health. I think that's kind of...
Well, we have that in the fertility world all the time. It's like the docs who are, 50 to 100 pounds overweight telling women to, hey, you should go on a diet, or you should try to do this, or you should stop. And it's like, are you doing any of that? Like, how do you know that works? That's better than, I guess, nutrition doesn't work at all. Like, that's bogus. I hate when people say that. I'm like, how does that make sense to you? That whatever you eat doesn't matter.
That's called common sense.
Yes, that's it.
I put it in that boat. It's common sense. We need to stop arguing about things that are so common sense. I can't even give any more breath to it. And so trust and integrity is a big one. One thing I said to Dr. Jane before we got on is I felt the empathy and integrity of who she was when I heard her speak at Silkworth. And it's one of the reasons I reached out, and, we're here today, is look for that. You can feel it on people, and you got to make a bet. You got to first make a bet on yourself that I'm going to do this, that this is going to be a priority for me, and then partner, and then get a partner. And that's it. And, and one day at a time, stop looking for what I call MPS, Magic Protocol Syndrome, and start climbing the hill and start becoming accountable and saying, I'm making a life change. You're not really after this for just a few symptoms. You're after this to change your life, and not just change for now. I said, well, what if this comes back in 3 years? Is that okay? You're going to go, no, I don't want it to come back in 3 years. Okay, so you're looking to change your life permanently. Do you see how big of a statement that is? See what you're asking the universe for? I want to change my reality. I want to change my health. I want to change my body. I want to change my relationship with food, my partner, with God, permanently, with Mother Nature, permanently. Okay, big ask. So breathe that in before you look at what you're expecting on how quickly. Now, you can get results quickly. You can. But just be ready just to say, look, I'm in this.
Yeah, sometimes it's not a home run, and that's okay. It's like, I don't think that's where I'm like, if I had a magic crystal ball, it would be great because I could tell you exactly what your journey is going to look like, but we can't. So you have to be just committed to the journey.
It'll be a home run if you don't quit. I'll tell you that.
Yeah.
That's it. Just keep pushing. What else are you going to do? Right? I had to keep pushing. I didn't get results quickly. That's why I'm here.
Yep.
So thank you for having me, Dr. Jane.
Thank you, Dane. Tell us where people can find you.
Yeah, so Crohn'sColitisLifestyle.com. I know it's a big word. Type into Google, you'll see us. Instagram, Crohn's_Lifestyle, or me, Dane Johnson 1 on the gram, or YouTube, Crohn's Colitis Lifestyle. And I'm going to send Jane a link where we just know that you came from her. So if you want to talk to our team or look involved or be a part of the community or look at our SHIELD program, we're here for you. So click the link. You can apply for a strategy session, and we have a lot of different ways to help. And we just want to do two things: build trust, integrity. We customize your plan for you. Everyone in our SHIELD program gets their own personal coach, so it's included in the program. And your customized program is built for you, and you're a member for life. And this is what we do. And I think, Dr. Jane's here to support in the pregnancy, and I don't think there's anyone better who could do that.
Thanks so much, Dane. It was really your wealth of knowledge, and you hit home a couple of really good points. And, the poisoning, and I find so many people have a hard time. They're not working with me because by the time they get to me, they're ready to make the change because they've been in enough pain. But watching the TV, eating the foods that you're like, I don't want to stop doing it because that's the thing that's bringing me joy. And it's like, if that's the thing that's bringing you joy, that's not a very happy life.
Say the same thing to a guy who smokes cigarettes. It's the same equation.
Anything, like drinking, it's the same. Any equation.
You look at them and you don't feel that emotion. You're like, it doesn't make sense to me. Because you can think rationally because you don't have an emotional connection. It's the same thing here. And if you're feeling too overwhelmed with it, you're not ready. That's okay. But it's just,
When you are ready, though, just know there's lots of people to help you.
If it can't hurt me, it can only help me. I implement it. That's how I got where I was. So I was overwhelmed with all of it, and I was housebound, and I was alone, and I didn't have any of this. And I just thought, what's my first move? If it can't help me and it can hurt me, I'm going to do it. And I listened to Bob Marley. I stopped listening to intense music. I stopped watching dramatic shoot 'em up movies, and I watched comedies, and I stopped watching a lot of TV at all. I even really monitored my TV because I read, and I went outside every single day, and I earthed, and I prayed and meditated every single day. I journaled every single day. What were my symptoms? What did I eat? What was my weight? What's my next move? When am I going to try this next thing? So I'd skip 3 days in my journal, and I'd write, okay, today's a broth fast only. And I meditated and did Epsom salt baths, and I would meet with my ND professors, and I'd talk to them about what's next and what to do. And I did lab work, and I tried hookworm therapy, and that was a disaster, and all that stuff. But you got to be willing to try. If you guys want my journal, you can also click the link, shoot us a message, info@crohnsguyslifestyle.com. I'll send you my journal I created when I was housebound.
That's amazing. Thanks so much, Dane. I appreciate you.
Thank you so much, guys. God bless.
Thank you.